Today we're going to be doing this bracelet here. As you can see, part of it is done with the Pondo stitch that I love so much. Superduos and a magnetic clasp that I got from Eureka Crystal Beads. All right, let's get to the supplies that you're going to need to do this bracelet. So 50 no seed beads. These are in gold plated. You're going to need a 3 to 4 millimeter rondelle bead. You can use the same color if you want. I just did slightly different for the middle and for the outer edge, just to see what it looks like. You're going to need 8-pound fireline. You can use 8 or 6-pound fireline. I prefer 8, especially when it comes to bracelets, and I'm using this in the color crystal. 2 different colors of 8-0 seed beads, superduos, and of course your magnetic clasp. I think that's a symbol magnetic clasp. So your magnetic clasp and 11 or 12 beading needle. It doesn't matter whichever one you want to use. These beads, being that they're 8-0, are actually pretty big, but I really like this bracelet. And I love the magnetic clasp on it because it's so easy to get on. I made it more like a cuff. I made this more to fit like a cuff. And of course green. So I'm going to do a slightly different color today for you. Okay, let's get started. So thread on your needle about 3 feet of thread and add your stop bead. And we're going to get going with the Pondo stitch. So I'm going to use beige as my inside color. So I put 4 on the needle. And then pull it through. Just like we did with my last video with the earrings. Pull it through. Till it sits like that. Then take your needle and go through the very first bead. And it should sit like a square, like that. I'm going to take the white bead and I'm coming out of this bead. I'm going to go into this bead. Take another white bead, coming out of this bead, going to go into that bead. Another bead, coming out of this bead, going to go into this bead. Okay. And then the last bead, coming out of this bead, you go into this bead. Only that bead. See a little square? Should look something like that. I'm going to take my thread and my needle. I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go through. See, coming out of this bead here, I'm going to go through this bead here. And then I'm going to go to the white bead. And that's where you should be sitting at this point. Now repeat. Add 4 more beads. Same color is the inside of this last little box you did. You're coming out this side. You go back around and go through the back of that same bead with the 4. turn your work over like I have to. I have to because I have to work this way. Now we're going to go through the first colored bead, or tan bead, I guess, and then add another white bead. And go around, same as you did before. And there's your 2 on there. Now you're coming out of this bead. I want to go through this bead, and then come out this bead. So I'm going to go through that bead. And I'm going to go through this bead. And then I'm going to go through this bead. There. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep adding the squares. So, you know, keep adding the squares. And what you want to do is have it look like this. Okay? So for medium-sized wrists like mine, I wanted this one to be a little bit smaller because I wanted it to fit like a cuff. So this is a 7.5-inch bracelet, okay, for my size of wrist. So my size of wrist is about 6 3/4, and I made it 7.5. So for this particular bracelet, if you want the medium size of a bracelet like mine, I added 23 squares. Okay. Now if you want it to be a little bit shorter, you have a smaller wrist, or you have a wrist that's a little bit longer, take the measurement of your wrist and then just gauge. You know, how much bigger you want it to be. The pattern will pretty much work out the same. It'll just be a little bit longer or a little bit shorter. So anyway, so add on 23 for a medium wrist, add on 23 of these little boxes and make 2 of them. Okay? And when you're done, I'll meet you back here and we'll continue. For this next part, we're going to need our superduos out, one color of our eidos. Doesn't matter which ones you want to use. I would stick with, like as you can see with this bracelet here, my outer ones were actually blue. So for this section in here, I used blue. So I'd probably stick with the same color that you used for the outer row, which for me is the white. Also your 50 you're going to need, and the 2 pieces of Pondo stitch pieces that you already have done, and we're going to get going on that. So I've already put on 3 feet of thread. I usually work with usually about 3 feet of thread. If I have to tie off and add more, it's not a big issue, not a big deal. So I'm just going to start probably here. And I'm just going to add this thread into my piece. Now I do have the stop bead. I'm going to move this out of the way because you don't need to see that. Okay, and then I'm going to go through this piece of this bead. I'm going to go through this bead. And I'm going to go around to this bead. if I can get there. Like that. Now I go through the next white bead. Okay, now we're going to start adding our superduos. So get 2 superduos on your needle. Don't forget to check and make sure all the holes are good. Okay, just like that. So 2 superduos through each of those spaces. Like that. So add 2 superduos in each of these spaces, okay? All the way down here until you get to here. And then do this one as well. As soon as you get here, stop, and I will meet you back here as soon as you've done all this, and we will continue. Okay, your work should look something like this. Now we're going to continue. Okay, you're coming out of this bead here. We have to get over to this bead here. Okay, so I forgot how I actually turned around here. So when you're coming out of this bead, like after you go around here, you're coming out of this bead, go through the top of, or the bottom of the next 2 superduos, okay? Because we got to come around and come up the top of that superduo. Like that. Then I'm going to go back down through this bead. Then back around through this bead, through these 2 beads again. And then through this bead, the top of that superduo. Now we're coming out the top of this superduo and we can continue our pattern. Okay, we're going to add 1 superduo between there. And 1 50-no seed bead. Okay. 1 superduo. Okay, and 1 seed bead, 1 50-no seed bead. And that's what it's going to start to look like. So continue this till you get to the end of this row, and I'll meet you back here and we'll start the next row. We are done the next row down, and that's basically what it should look like. Now we're going to head, we're coming out of this end here, and now we're going to head back this way. Okay, we're coming out of this super duo. Now we've got to add a super duo. Go through the top of this super duo, heading back in the other direction, like that. And then add another super duo, like that. Then add your 50-no and another super duo, and go through the top of the next super duo. So it looks like that. Then add a superduo, a 15-0 and another superduo. Make sure the holes are clear. And go through the next superduo. So it looks like that. Now go all the way down to the other side, continuing with this pattern, and I'll meet you back here when we get to the end of the other side. Okay, now we're ready to add on the other side. So when you finish this row here, don't forget to add on that one last superduo on the outside there, because you want it to be even, like it is on the other side there, see? There. Okay, now we're going to add this piece on to the bracelet. We're going to go through this top hole of this superduo, go the top hole of this superduo, pull them together, and then you go through the second 11-0 of the second little square, okay? And don't worry about this part, we will fix that when we come back again. And then you just go through your two superduos, like that. Your next 11-0, and then the next superduo. So it looks something like this. So basically what you're doing is you're attaching this side onto, you know, this side. So you want to keep this 11-0 in line with that 15-0. Then these two superduos inside, you know, the two boxes, and then that 11-0 matching with that 15-0, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you're going to go through the next superduo, then the next 11-0, and then this superduo, and then keeping with same pattern, like I said, this 11-0 in between the superduos that have the 15-0 in between them, and then these two, you know, in here, and so on and so forth. Okay, we'll get to the end of this row and attach this other piece like I showed you here, and I will be back when we get to the other end again. Okay, so I finished that last row attaching the other side of the bracelet, and at this point, if you wanted to, you could leave it just like this. I mean, this actually looks really pretty too. Right? I mean, that looks so pretty. So if you want to, you can leave it at this and just skip ahead to when I add the end piece and the clasp. If you want to put a middle embellishment on there like I did with this bracelet, then we will continue forward from here. So at this point now, I've got to decide what I'm going to be putting in the middle. I have decided on these ones here, Eureka Crystal beads. I'm not sure exactly what the name of these are, but I will find out which ones they are and let you know. because these ones are a little bit different than the beads that I originally had picked out to do this pattern or to do this bracelet. But I think these look really pretty on there. They just lighten up the middle quite a bit. That's why I decided to go with them. They're different. So I'm going to move this out of the way here and we are going to get started. Okay, for this next part, you need 2 beading needles, thread on about 6 feet of thread. 3 feet for both, 3 feet for either side, and then put on your beading needles on either end of your thread. Okay, so I have 2 beading needles threaded on to this thread. I'm going to find out where my middle is. It's about there. So now what I'm going to do is, if you remember, on this side, we have that one side which is not connected yet. So start at the opposite side, okay? And take your beading needles and go through at the same time your first and second superduo. So this bottom of the first superduo, the top of the middle second superduo. And then do that with the other side as well, because you want to make sure that they stay in the middle. Like you want to make sure you get the middle of your thread. If it'll go, it doesn't like me. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to do this one here, and I'm going to pull that evenly there. Okay, so that's what it should look like. So I've pulled the 2 pieces of thread as evenly as I possibly could. All right, and we're ready to do the next step. Okay, now I've got everything threaded in there. Now don't forget, on this side here, this is the side with the open area, the part I didn't secure. So you want to start at the other end. So this end, okay? Now always keeping your needles on either side, separated all the way up. We are going to bead on one of those 3 to 4 millimeter beads. Okay. Now bead on the other, put the other thread needle through that bead and thread it on. Again, keeping your thread on opposite sides like that. And taking one of your needles and see there's the hole right there underneath this bead. So the bead will sit like this. There's a hole right there. So you just want to go into the next superduo. So in this hole, go through here. Okay. And then with this one, and since I can't thread with my left hand, because I can't, all right, I'm going to take this needle and go through the top part, or the other side of that same superduo. Okay? Sorry, it should look like that. Now we're going to do the exact same thing, and we're going to go all the way up to the other side of the bracelet. So again, bead on 3 to 4 millimeter bead with one side, keeping that thread on the same side. I'm going to put my needle in like that, put out of the filming area. I'm going to take my other bead. Make sure that you go through the bottom of that bead, same as what you did with your other thread, because it'll get a little tangled. Okay? Then lift that bead and you'll see the little space where that bead is going to kind of sit in. Okay? And put your needle through that next superduo. And whatever side, you know, like if you're on this side, go on this side of that superduo. If you're on this side, then you go on this side of that super duo. Okay. And pull that through. So there's 2 done, and that's what it should look like. All right, so go all the way up through your bracelet to here, and then I will meet you back here when we're ready to continue. Okay, I am done adding the middle row. I think that looks really nice. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to attach this part. And I'm going to take this side, the needle on this side. I'm going to go, so I'm coming out of, let's see here, I'm going to move you back in. My goodness, I'm sorry, I'm in and out. Okay, so I'm coming out of here with my thread on that side. So I'm going to go through this next super duo on the top. I'm going to go down and around and go through those 2. I'm going to go down and through those 2, the bottom 2. Then I'm going to go through this 15-0 or 11-0. And I'm going to make my way back over, go through this 11-0. Then I'm going to go back through this first super duo, the bottom of the first super duo, and go through that 11-0, and you're attached. Okay. And then I'll just go back around this little square just to reinforce. Make sure it stays put. Staying in the darker colored beads in the inner part of that square. And as you can see, it's sitting in there real nice. Okay. I'm going to go back through this super duo again because I want to be coming back through this side. Back here. Back through the top of this super duo. There. Now it's secure and we can head back down the opposite side. And then this side here, I'm going to go down through the bottom of this super duo. Okay, and then I'm going to go back up and out and head back in the same direction. There. There. Now I'm ready to add my next set of beads. Okay, now add 5 of the 50 no's to the thread on this side and go through that same 3 to 4 millimeter bead. Do the same on the other side, add 5 of your 50 no's and go through that same 3 to 4 millimeter bead. Okay, so I've turned my work around. Unfortunately, for some reason, my camera turned off. I've already put some beads in between these two 3 to 4 millimeter beads, so we'll do that again. So what I'm doing is I'm putting 3 50-0s on my needle. Okay, and I'm going to go through the next 3 to 4 millimeter bead. Do the same thing with the other side. So 3 50-0s on there. And do the same thing, go through that bead. Okay, and then pull it tight. And that's what you're gonna have. Okay, so I'll do it again. 3 50-0s on the side. Put it through the large bead. Then take 3 50-0s on the other side. Okay, and put that through that same bead. Put that through that same bead. Pull it tight. And that's what it's going to look like. All right, so continue that all the way up to get to the other end, and I'll meet you back here when we're at the other end. Okay, now we are at the end of that row. We are going to add the last beads, finish it off here. And keeping with the same bead on the same side, I've added 5 50-0s to my needle, and I'm going to go through the top of that last super duo. Like that. And push it through. Do the same thing with your other needle on the other side. 5 50-0s. Okay, so 5 of them. And go through the top of the other super duo on the other side. There. Now we are done the final row. Now we are going to start on the ending. So now we're going to do this part. I'm going to leave both needles on their threads because I can use this one to go back down and add my embellishment beads. So with this needle here, that's the one on this side, I am going to just go through and work my way back up to this point here. So, ouch, I want to get that out of the way, and I just pricked myself. Ow, that hurt. Okay, and then I'm just going to go through these beads here and work my way back up, because you want this out of the way. You want this out of the way when you do your ending, and you might as well keep it. You can go down this other way and add the embellishment beads that I plan to add. So we'll just get it down to We'll put it through this first bead here, and then we'll just leave it. Okay, so we're going to leave that on. Okay, now to do the ending, we are going to need our 8/0 seed beads, and I'm using the white that I used in here. Superduos, same color as I used here. And then we're going to need the magnetic clasp. Now I'm coming out of the end of this superduo. I need to be coming out of the end of this bead. So we're just going to go up and go from the back of the bead to the the front of the bead to the back of the bead, just like that. Now we're going to add on 4 of the superduos. Always making sure both the holes are good. Sometimes they can be plugged and then you're not going to be very happy. Okay, now we're going to go through this bead like that. Okay, so you got your 4 superduos there. Now we have to come up to this bead here. So I'm going to go all the way around and come back up that bead through the cream colored 8/0s. So your inner beads, your inner 8/0s. Okay, and then come out this white 8/0. So that's basically what that looks like. Now we're going to add 1 superduo and go through this superduo, the top of the first superduo in the last row. Add another superduo, go through the next one in the top row. Another one, top one of the last row, and another superduo in the last superduo. And then add 1 more superduo and go through this seed bead here. Like that. And that's what it should look like. Now I'm going to go through the next 8/0. All right, and I'm going to come back and around this side of this 8/0, the white 8/0, because I want to be coming out that bead like that. Okay, now put 3 8/0s on your needle. And you're going to go through this, the top of the next superduo, like that. Now you're going to add 2 superduos. Making sure the holes are good. Yep. And go through the top of the next superduo. And you continue that across, adding 2 superduos. That one looks kind of yucky. In each of the, between each of the superduos of the last row. So it looks like that. Okay, till it looks something like that. Now add 3 white 8/0s and go through this 8/0. And that's what it should look like there. Now we have to get back up to this point again, so I'm going to go around like this. So this is the bead I'm coming out of. I'm going to go back through the tan colored 8/0 and make my way back up to the top of that same side, pulling tight. Go back through this 8/0 and turn my work. Okay, now I'm coming out of the bottom of the next super duo, which is what you want. And then I'm going to come up, go back through that 8/0 there, and come up there. Leaving, or that super duo, coming up the top of that super duo. There. And this is where your needle should be, between that 8/0 and that super duo. Now I'm going to add 2 8/0s, and I'm going to go back through that next top of the first super duo, heading back in the other direction. Okay, now you should be sitting here at this super duo. Your thread should be coming out of that one. Then add 1 8/0 and go through the next top of the next super duo. And this is where you want to add one part of your magnetic clasp. So we're going to add this part. Okay. So I'm just going to put my needle through there, the one side. So it sits like that. And then I'm going to go through the next top of the next super duo. So it sits like that. Now you're going to add 1 8/0, go through the next super duo. Add another 8/0. Go through the next super duo, and because this is a magnetic clasp, it is grabbing onto my needle. Okay. Now another 8/0. Go through the next super duo. Now you're going to add, now you're going to go through the other side of your magnetic clasp. Now you're going to go through the next super duo, the top of the next super duo. And add 1 more 8/0 between the last 2 super duos. And there. Your clasp is added. Coming out of this 8/0, go through the next super duo. Then add on 2 8/0s and go through the second of the 4 here. So right there. now we're ready to start the embellishment down the one side. I'm going to use these 3mm fire polish rondelles. And the reason I picked this is because it actually matches, like, you know, some of these superduos here. Okay, and you just put one in the middle of each little spaces here. Okay, just like that. And then you head all the way down to the other side. I'm going to go all the way down to the other side and I'll meet you back here when I'm done. And when you're doing this embellishment here, just go lightly. Don't pull really tight. Just let them lay in place. And that's one side done. Now I still got this thread at the other end. And I don't have a lot of thread left over on this here side, the one that I just finished. But I'll leave it on there for just a minute. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this thread on the other side and I'm going to quickly go down with those same rondelles all the way down the other side. Okay? So I'm going to do that real quick and I will meet you back here when I get to the other side. Okay, we are at the other side now, the end part of the bracelet, and we have to add the other embellishment and clasp. And as you can see, if you look at the bracelet this way, that a lot of the middle parts that I added for embellishment are crooked, but when you wear the bracelet and when it goes around your wrist, it'll be perfectly straight and pretty. Now I've left the other side needle and thread on there just in case I need to use that thread to finish the end, because I only have about maybe a foot left of thread on this side, so, and I don't like to waste. Okay, so now we're sitting at this bead here. I've added all my rondelles, everything I need. So I'm going to go around. Take my needle and follow it all the way around, hitting only those inner 11-ohs. Okay, then I'm going to keep going around. Keep going around. I want to go around this one. Basically, I'm coming around here and then I'm going to go back up these two superduos. Okay, and then go back up those two superduos. Just go one at a time if you have to. If you hear my dog snoring, that's what that is. My dog is snoring. Then we're going to make it our way through this 8-oh. This one. All right, now from this point on, you do exactly what I showed you with this side here. So if you have to go back and see what I did there, go ahead. And I will meet you back here just before you're ready to add on the other side of the magnetic clasp. Okay, now I'm at the point to add the other side of my clasp. Now the reason I stopped here and decided to just go over this with you, because you want to make sure that you put this thing on the right way. It does not go this way, okay? It will go the opposite direction. You want it to sit opposite to what this one is sitting. Okay? All right, now we're just going to add it like we did the other side. So it sits like that. and just continue on. Finish it off by adding your 8/0 through there. Then sew through the other side of your clasp. Now I'm just going to tie off both sides because I have two threads here. So I'm going to tie them off and I'll be right back. Okay, there is your pretty little finished bracelet. I love these magnetic clasps. They hold and they just make bracelet wearing so easy. And this one here, I always make it pretty close to what I need for my wrist size because I like it to be like a cuff. And see how it sits really nice on the wrist? This middle piece here. And this is the green one I made. Now this one here is a little bit different, but I mean, once you have your base bracelet done, when it comes to the embellishment, you can do anything. You can add anything you want to. That's why I like this bracelet so much, because you can do so much with the embellishment. You can do whatever you want. You can add what you want. It's so easy to add to these bracelets once you get the main bracelet done. And if you wanted to, you could just, if you wanted something more simple, then don't add anything at all. Just leave it as it is. I mean, it's pretty. You can kind of see from the back, like what it actually looks like without any embellishment at all. And that even looks pretty too. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and making these beautiful bracelets. This month's winner is Lisa Armstrong. So Lisa Armstrong, I will be getting in touch with you and you get to choose either of one of these bracelets. That is my giveaway this month. So Lisa, you get to choose either this one or this one. Congratulations, I hope you enjoy. So I hope you guys have a great day, and I would love to see you back here for my next video. Have a good one, guys. Bye.